So, how many of us have had childhood dreams that we eventually had to relinquish once reaching adulthood? For me personally, I've always dreamt of playing professional basketball, and in 2015, I was lucky enough to sign a professional contract and play in Girona, Spain. So after moving to Europe, and every time I'm home in between seasons, people ask me at home constantly, how did I get noticed or discovered by a team abroad, and why did I choose to go over to Europe instead of staying at home? So I answer back is growing up, my goal was always to play college basketball first, and then eventually play in the NBA. But as I played college ball, so I achieved that dream. But as I got older and I realized that I wasn't good enough to play in the NBA or anywhere close enough. So that didn't mean that my dream had to die. I just had to find different avenues into professional basketball. So that's why I figured that this would be an ideal topic for this assignment, to explain my experiences as well as the challenges that an aspiring player would face while pursuing the dream of playing professional basketball. Um, so how I got signed by a team and got into contact with a team is I played semi-pro after I left New Orleans. That's where I played in college. I moved back home, and I played semi-pro for a team called the Beltway Bombers, and they're based out in Baltimore. And the coach and I had a really good rapport, and he introduced me to an agent, and this agent sent me to a camp in Spain. And now what we did at this camp is we would tour. It was a bunch of you could say a bunch of American mercenaries who were trying to look for teams in Europe, and we toured around. We toured around Spain, and we played exhibition games against professional teams. And if you play well enough, you can get picked up, or it's great exposure. So I performed pretty well, and I also demonstrated that the coaches we had there, they also saw that I had a pretty good character. I worked really hard, and to teams over there, is your attitude is really important. It's not quite like in the U.S. where a lot of times they'll overlook your attitude, poor attitude, because of your talent. Yeah, they do not play games over there. You could be a superstar, you show poor attitude, and you're not a good teammate. Yeah, they will cut you. And that's my advice to a lot of aspiring players, because in the past, a lot of American players, especially at the camp, a lot of guys had a lot of arrogance and felt entitlement, and they got sent home. So they learned. Now, another one of the difficulties. There are several difficulties to getting signed by teams, so I'm gonna go over them. The first one is it's difficult to get picked up by a team, because you don't have a European passport. So there are times when an American player, they'll go back and look through their like family history and find anywhere to get a European passport, or even I think Jamaicans in Europe, they also have an advantage over American players with passports because of legalities. So you could compare trying to play over there in Europe without a European passport to someone coming here and trying to get a job without U.S. citizenship. So you'd have to show exceptional skills for the company to provide you with a work visa like a green card. Teams are forced to pay a lot of heavy taxes for non-European players as well. So that's why you gotta be a really special player. It's not good enough to just be good enough for the 12-man roster, because there's a whole lot of teams at higher levels I could have made if I was just all I had to do was just be good enough for the team. But you have to either be the best player or one of the top 3 players on the team for them to make that investment for you. And so there's that. Another thing is a lot of guys, once you go over there, obviously you're playing in foreign countries. So a lot of guys feel culture shock. Now, personally, I was lucky I didn't feel that, because I grew up, traveling the world a lot just because my dad was a diplomat. So culture shock, was that was like country, like I've lived in third world countries, so living in Spain and France and Europe, that was easy for me. You also got to watch out that teams, you can be paid late, and almost everyone I know who's played overseas at some point, faced times when a team paid them late. It could be a couple of months. For me, when I last played in France, my last check, the team paid me 3 months late, and I was already home. So, but it's not as bad as it is in South America. Yeah, they could pay you a whole season late. But the good thing is, you always eventually get your money. So yeah, I've never heard of somebody who just played and never got paid. He eventually gets it. Now, you got to remember that it's a business as well. So a team can easily cut you when you underperform. So don't think, you go in there, you got a good relationship with the coach or the president or whatever, that, it means, you guys are boys or something like that. It's a real job. So, you could come in. A friend of mine, one of my teammates in Spain, he used to play in Uruguay. And he told me that he knows of a guy who had averaged 20 points a game the previous year. He got onto a new team and he was averaging only 15 a game, and he got cut for a guy who was coming in to average 18. So you could play pretty well and still get cut. There's higher expectations for American players, obviously, because the investment is higher, because they got to pay a lot of taxes for you and all your living expenses and that. So you got to be significantly better than your local counterpart. Otherwise, they look at you and they just say, why should I, invest all that in you, make a working visa, pay more for you, when this guy is, about just as good as you. You could also get sent home just after an injury. So, you could get hurt anytime and you get sent home. And me, in France, I fell on my wrist one of the games and I almost fractured it. Now, I had a good relationship with the team, so they weren't so cutthroat to just send me home, but I decided that we both had an agreement it's best for me to come home. I also had personal things I had to take care of at home, and so I decided to come back home from France. Generally, you get 1-year contracts, so it's not like the NBA where you get a 5-year deal or something like that. Yeah, most of the times you get a 1-year deal, and the next year, you get a new team, you get a new deal, or sometimes a team will just call you in for the playoffs or just for several months. Yeah. So now the other difficult parts is, not just the team, but the personal stress that a player would experience outside of just the team. For me, I had to think a lot about what I would do after basketball, or if my career doesn't last as long as I hoped, or I'm just not as successful. I know that I don't have real regular work experience. I've been playing sports the whole time, and while at Loyola, that's where I played college ball, I studied marketing, and it's not really something I'm interested in. My goal was to play basketball. I just picked any major. So I know that after basketball, if I'm trying to get a job in marketing, with zero work experience, I'm gonna be competing against, fresh college grads, and I might need 3 years experience before I get the salary I want. And I didn't want to, I don't want to be in my 30s competing against 22-year-olds. So what I decided to do is I decided that I'd pursue a degree in computer science, and which is what I'm currently doing now. And I know that why I chose computer science, because I know right out of the gate you're getting paid a lot. They don't require that much work experience. Either you can code, or you can't. So yeah. And now I know I made it sound like it's all stressful and challenging, but those are the parts I just wanted to stress out for the sake of this assignment. But at the end of the day, you're over there, you get to play the game you love. I got paid. See the world, different cultures, new experiences. And the teams, one of the biggest perks is the teams pay for all your living expenses. So they pay for my apartment and my food. Yeah, so although there are challenges and although there's a lot of perks and you live your dream, so there's a lot of challenges and stressful times. So if you have the goal to play overseas, just make sure you really love the game and treat it like you would a 9-to-5. So act professional. And a lot of guys, get it twisted and think, oh, I'm still playing a sport, so they still act immature. But it is not that. So my experiences, I had ups and downs, but I wouldn't trade it for anything. And hopefully I could play one more season.
So how long did you play in Europe?
So I first played in Spain. I was there for about, I played a full season in Spain. I was on 2 different teams. And then the following season, I played in France. And I played in France I was there for about 7 months.
Okay.
Yeah, so almost a full season.
And how many different countries did you get to travel and play?
I played in Spain and France.
Just Spain and France?
Yeah, I first went to Spain, and then I went over to France.
So you don't travel to other countries to play different teams?
Well, those are the teams, you would say those are the teams that make the EuroLeague. So those are the top, the upper echelon team. So I was trying to work my way up to that level. So I didn't, I wasn't there yet.
Gotcha.
Which did you enjoy most, France or Spain? And which country did you have your most challenges and stressors?
Okay, so I would say definitely Spain is where I had the most challenges because that was my first time out there. When I first got to Spain, when I was part of the camp and the tour, it was stressful because there's a lot of knuckleheads in there, and not everyone was cut out to be a professional. And it's a bunch of guys trying to be professional. So everyone's pretty talented, but we weren't on a professional team yet. So you could see you could easily spot who would last and who wouldn't. And I was pretty lonely in Spain because we're mostly in a hotel, like outside of the city, and it was just walking distance to the practice facility. So every day was just hotel, practice facility, and then games. France, I speak French fluently, so I was able to go outside and I could make local friends. So I didn't, I didn't have to be tied down to the members of the basketball team or anything like that. So I would say I definitely had enjoyed France a lot more.
What's the difference in style between American basketball and European basketball?
Okay, so European basketball is a lot more team-oriented compared to American style of basketball, where it's a lot about, I don't know if you guys play basketball, but it's a lot of one-on-one. There's a lot more of that. Whereas in Europe, it's more systematic basketball. So it's more, even if you're a superstar, it's hard to stand out because, you share the ball so much.
Is there anything that you would do again, or talk a little bit about if you could change one thing, what would it be?
Well, I'm better now than I was when I first went out there. So I wish I could just go back because I learned a lot while I was playing there. So yeah, I wish right now with the skill level and the IQ that I developed, I wish I could rewind back to 2015 because I feel like I would have signed bigger contracts or made it onto the higher level teams I wanted to. Yeah, so I would go back and do that. And maybe a couple of untrustworthy people in Spain. Now that I know they're not trustworthy, I wouldn't make that mistake again. But it's another conversation.
So you said you speak French fluently.
Yeah.
Did you have any barriers with the language in Spain, or do people mostly speak
English?
No,
People did a good job of speaking English. It's not like here where people only speak English and they don't speak anything else, or they took a couple of classes for another language. Over there, the classes they took in English actually taught them how to speak English, so they could do that. And also, you gotta remember that people watch movies, so Hollywood's in English, so there's a lot more English influence.
Okay, so it was easy to communicate with the team and figure out everything going on.
Yeah.
That's good.
As a former football player, we should get on the basketball court sometime.
You have no chance.
I mean, you could shoot around, play horse.
Could try.
Thanks, love.
All right.
Yeah.